You're about to hear the recorded audio diaries of Michael Swain, Adam Ganzer, and Abe Epperson, transmitted to you from another dimension through the wonder of podcast technology. Lost in the multiverse, they have to dig into a different piece of multiversal fiction each episode, in the hopes of finally discovering a way back to their reality. How do they know this isn't their reality? Because one of them is being a real asshole. Will our heroes ever make it home, or will they inadvertently explore our obsession with multiverses, alternate timelines, and parallel worlds, and tie it all into a conversation about postmodern art, pop culture, and what it means to be a human right now? This is Escape from the Multicurse.
And I love that about you. I'm willing to use this as an intro. I don't give a shit.
I couldn't. I thought we explicitly said I would do the intro.
I'm sorry.
You said that would really help you out. So I waited for a moment where I could start the intro. Now we're in it. Well, I'll say I think it makes a great intro because this is what I was saying to Abe while you were suffering off mic. It's kind of what the movie's about. It's kind of what all Russian fiction is about.
No kidding.
Dostoevsky.
Yeah, okay, but let me at least do the nominal thing. This is Escape from the Multicurse. Let's sound off. I'm Michael Swain.
I'm Adam Ganzer.
I'm Abe Epperson.
And this is one of the small beans shows where you get the three bean salad, the three biggest beans of all, and we discuss movies that take place. There's a lot of debate around it, but that involve a multiverse or time loop or branching narratives, or sort of grapple with that idea that society seems to be obsessed with right now, or at least for the last 30 years. So today we'll be talking Solaris, and for the record, we are talking the original Tarkovsky version from 1972, I want to say, not the Soderbergh. Is it Soderbergh? Am I doing this right?
That's
great.
From 2001, I believe.
Yeah. Which Abe may have showed it to me once a decade ago, but I would like to watch it again after watching this because I really like this. So let's get right into it.
Yeah.
It's Solaris. This is Escape from the Multicurse, and the first thing we do here is called the multi-map or mapping the multi-map. Great.
Yeah.
Would anyone mind if I kick it off?
I would not. I never do.
So
never
good.
mind. Yeah.
So great. So cool. Happy to be here with my buds talking about Solaris. If you haven't seen it, pretty sad. It's like a long, sad Star Trek episode. And as I alluded to, I think this movie, my central core thesis that made me unlock and appreciate this film deeply, I really liked it, was that, and I haven't seen another movie do this before. Grief is an alternate dimension. When someone you love is dead and gone, the collection of memories that they left behind think of that as an alternate. What if that's, evil twin from another dimension is the simulacrum of the person that's not real anymore, but you still have that memory collection. That's kind of an alternate dimension. The way grief can totally distort your view of situations that you're navigating because your brain is in a shattered state of grief, and it can twist time. And people who have, severe PTSD, like a Vietnam flashback, right? That's a form of time travel. It's almost like you're stepping into an alternate dimension or experiencing a time loop. So it's doing the classic high literature thing, which honestly I have to compare to Star Trek The Next Generation, is the closest this felt to me like a long, very heady, philosophical, navel-gazing TNG episode about what if there was an alien creature that was actually a planet-sized brain? It doesn't know what our deal is, but it can read our minds. It wants to communicate. We don't know what its deal is, but we try to communicate. And all this shit unfolds. That's just a very highly symbolic representation of what is death and loss and grief. And yet life is also beautiful. And I circle back to, I feel like so much Russian fiction is why life's sad. Like life beautiful, but also sad. Why? Let's talk about it. And this is a great one of those, with a classic good sci-fi twist at the end that we'll unpack.
That's interesting. I was thinking the whole time as I've watched this, the way that, because I've seen the Soderbergh one several times.
And was this your first time seeing this one, though?
It's my first time seeing the Tarkovsky one. It's very clearly in conversation with 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh yeah,
Like it's very
and
clear, like,
Annihilation. I thought a bit.
yeah, but like those two films are contemporaries. And it's clear Tarkovsky is like, I want to make a 2001, but with emotions and not so much with like, you know, I don't know, rage, logic, whatever you want to say is behind 2001. So,
Why was his name Dave? Why not Snout?
why not Snout?
That's what
Great
Tarkovsky
name.
was thinking. Yeah.
Great name, Snout. I'll tell you what I think is interesting in this movie is how this is one of the only Dimension movies where the protagonist is deeply overmatched by the multiverse generator. You know what I mean? Like whatever, like in all these films that we watch, it's ultimately the story of the protagonist grabbing control of the thing that makes dimensions, right? Like I control this now. I'm using the universe and directing the flow of events to the conclusion I want.
Or aren't a lot of them like, or you can't do that? Butterfly effect is you thought you could do that, you can't do that.
Yes, you try
It's
and
one or
you
the other.
can't. This protagonist never makes that attempt. And that's interesting.
He's an astronaut psychiatrist in a leather jacket who's here to chill.
With some mesh fucking tank top action going on. Yeah, he's very passive, but I would say that in most movies that's a huge problem that a protagonist is not active. In this movie, I think it's actually tells you how frail and human this character is. He's one of the most human characters we've seen get into a dimension splitting situation, because I'm using the metaphor, right? Or like have to confront this magic thing that creates alternative realities and is basically completely out of his depth from the beginning. And I love that. And I enjoy that he basically succumbs. Like whatever the planet, whatever Solaris decides, Solaris, it's like he's going with it. Like he really doesn't argue with it at any point. And that's interesting because I do think that if you came face to face with something that was able to redirect eternity this way, I don't think that you'd be able to take it on in a fight. So
or manifest your dreams. It's the sphere. It's also kind of sphere.
Yeah, but he doesn't have control over his manifestations. That's a key ingredient, right? Like they're happening to him. And I think that's actually a human thing, is that like actually what would happen is these things would happen to you. And then you'd have to decide what am I going to do with that? And most of us would be paralyzed. And I think that's an interesting lens to view the multiverse through, because we haven't really seen much of that. So that's my observation about it.
You guys saying some interesting stuff. Grief is dimension.
Thank you. Yeah, you do too often. Please do.
Look, here's all I have to say. What am I looking at here? On the Amazon, it said sci-fi, but there's no robots. There's no gigantic slime monster or werewolf.
On the Amazon.
Not a single one. This movie made me so mad when watching it.
There's a living ocean brain goo planet.
I didn't see it.
That's a slime monster.
Does it talk?
Yeah,
Look,
as
I can't
Hari,
even-
his dead love. That's the alien speaking through her, was my interpretation.
No. I couldn't even enjoy the fucking beautiful imagery and meditative landscapes and calm pacing. Like, it was mostly dudes just talking in rooms.
That's right.
And there's like a dead broad that like tries to kill herself.
That's true.
I don't get it. Like, is this art? Is this some kind of art inside a movie?
Some kind of art is the question. I think we'll answer that over the course of the next hour.
Perhaps we shall. Perhaps we shall.
Some kind of art.
I would posit yes, and I would posit that, Adam, I wrote that same note. This is an important conversation piece to pair with 2001. I think that's a really interesting way to access it. So let's do that.
Mm-hmm.
Abe, shut it. In Verses on Verses, where we just talk. I just want to give people the quickest of nutshells of just the sci-fi. So spoilers. Very slow paced and meditative. So the actual sci-fi like twist is very simple to lay out. We have a thing orbiting a planet that they start to suspect is some kind of living consciousness, the whole planet. It manifests as like an ocean, but it has like psychic powers and it can radiate things. And people start having apparitions. They call them guests. They can be various different things. And I could be wrong, but my interpretation was that it was the alien. It's sort of like the interference pattern between our consciousness and its consciousness, or you don't get the details, but maybe it's trying to make first contact with us and we are too, but it's so different than us that manifests as, like, in this case, this guy's dead lover keeps coming back and then being confused and upset and killing herself, then coming back. And everyone has different symbolic weird things involving their thoughts or their dreams or their past happening to them. He, as Adam says, never resists or tries to figure it out.
Never.
He's like, you can make my dead girlfriend? Please do. And he keeps just hanging out and having sex with his dead girlfriend.
Yeah.
And then they're like, at the end, they're like, well, we fired... They do some sci-fi mumbo jumbo, which is they fire more like radiation coated with human brain patterns at it with a message that says, this is really hurting our feelings. Please stop doing it. And when that radiation hits the planet does stop doing that, but it starts doing something new, which is create these little islands that have a little biome on it that represents something from your head. So in the case of our hero, the sci-fi irony that I really like, is it summons an island that's just a little biome of the place on Earth he left to come here. Like, so it's like, no matter what you do, no matter what you achieve, right? You're always nostalgic for what you don't have. Like, I miss cracks now, but I hated it back in the day, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, and I didn't, I'm just kidding. So it ends with it pulling out and being like, surprise. Cause his last line is like, well, should I stay here? Should I go back to Earth? And you cut and he's back on Earth at his normal house. And then it zooms out and he's on an island on the planet. And you're like, oh no, he's addicted to
he got
whatever
Solaris.
the psychic connection is. Yeah, he's going to live on
Yeah.
Solaris now.
So
that's like the whole arc. And all I'll say is I kept image-wise going like, so did Kubrick think of this or did Tarkovsky think of this? And have to look up timings and behind the scenes information and when they were filming. And I do just think if you love 2001, which I think we all do,
oh yeah,
it's an amazing thing to watch and compare to that. Like, obviously so in conversation with Kubrick and almost a response to Kubrick. And I think a good response. Like, I think it holds up through that lens, which is hard to do.
It does. It's also, there's a lot of great revealing scenes through pans. Like, a pan is not the sexiest camera tool, but it's used masterfully in this film. Like, there are constant camera moves that basically an operator with the director have sort of designed a series of beats that are all being done with where the camera moves to.
Not for me, man. Pick a direction, camera guy. That's what I'm saying.
Go left, camera guy.
Left, right, left. Pick one.
I got to ask you, do you think that he was ever reconciled to the death of his wife by the end of this movie? Like, what is your opinion about
I think
that?
he's like a cipher. I don't know what Guy is thinking. Our Guy? No, I have no... Like, I understand his basic human shapes. Like, he misses someone because he loved them and they died. But I agree with you that he is, like, here to witness these events unfold. But what's weird is the whole setup is, nuh-uh. Dude, they sent you here with a very specific job and instructions, and he gets there and he just fucks around. I'm like, what happened to you agreeing with the government guy that you were going to go do this and this and this?
I kind of enjoyed that the surly astronaut was like, you're kind of a loafer. And they were all like, oh, how dare you?
Shit, since you got to the space station.
And it's
like, fuck your girlfriend's ghost. And he's like, and?
Yeah.
What do you, so?
Got a point
That's
there?
a question that I had.
Yeah.
I may be dumb, but like when I watched this, I was like, if this is the deal and you could just print wives, why can't you make a deal where you get like 2 or 3 of them?
Yeah, why isn't he a memory polygamist?
Well, and I did want to drill, I wanted to drill down on like what, because you're saying you can't control it. Yeah. Meaning like he didn't choose it to be Hari, but just her presence in his mind. Almost like the Deep Space Nine pilot. He's obsessed with his dead wife and the prophets can tell that.
It's pretty clear the planet is probing
people's memories.
Probing you to find out what makes you work. Like he could have picked a lot of things.
To either, I don't think it's, or I think we're not supposed to believe it's malevolent. It's also confused. It's like jamming around in our heads, trying to figure shit out.
This version of the planet, and it's not true in the one that Soderbergh did.
Is Soderbergh's
responded
evil?
to this one is responding to being nuked. I don't mean actually nuked. They shot
Right.
X-ray radiation down to the planet, and the planet was like, okay, I'm going to start sending
All
you
right, I'm
visitors.
gonna send ghosts at you.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
So, but like you can see how the planet might have conceived of that as an interaction, right? Now we're going to have an interaction.
It's very crystal entity.
Soderbergh's planet is incredibly mysterious. Like you never really understand, except for I would argue there's one image that sort of translates what that planet is like. But we can get to that at the end because I don't want to.
But against sort of like the zone in Annihilation, which I think, and there's a device called the Annihilator.
The
in
Shimmer. Yeah, who's the lead in the new Solaris?
Clooney.
Clooney.
Oh baby, see that's the problem with this one. Is
This
that
is
none
not
of
what's
these
his
scientists
face.
have rockin' bods? You seen that movie Life?
I
That's
like
got
that
Jake
movie.
Gyllenhaal and Ryan
Oh,
Reynolds in it.
Dude, yeah, and Eddie Murphy
you can
is in
bounce
jail
a
for
dime
life,
off those abs.
and he didn't even do it. You meet Martin Lawrence, great film.
I will say I have one casting note for this movie. It was the casting of Chris Kelvin and his father was not clear enough to me in age
Just like
difference.
a very hardcore deadpan Russian, clearly like a guy with a Russian face, and then a guy who looks like a cowboy who's only 8 years
Kinda,
older than
yeah,
him.
if he's even older at all. Like, and it for a little while I was like, who's the dad?
And
here?
I had to look up in Wikipedia. Oh, that's his beloved father.
Yes.
Oh, okay, all right.
I was
good.
legitimately confused for a lot of the
Noted.
movie about that.
Everyone is 50 in this movie.
Yeah.
Surprisingly.
Except
Everyone's
Hari.
50.
He's definitely
Oh, no, she's
robbing
50.
the cradle.
She's 50.
Okay,
That's just
Great.
how it
Well,
rolls.
she's good, and
Yeah,
she's good for
that was a
50.
concern I had. Also, was like, this is a pretty young wife. Is this the?
Yeah.
Is this the one is this how she he remembers her?
Oh, and not even to mention, isn't the first clue that the planet is weird is a guy says that he saw a free floating baby in space, a giant space baby.
Yeah, it was
How
4
more
meters
2001
tall.
can you get?
Yeah. That was a
Space
fun.
baby.
Also, I enjoyed that. So we're like learning about Solaris from a guy who's just upset out there who came home from Solaris and saw some shit, and like we're looking at an old, I don't know, deposition tape or whatever. And in that deposition tape,
Oh yeah, the
this
guy
man
Pierce
has
looking
hair.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah. This man has hair. We cut to him now, and it's in color, and he's lost all his hair. He's fucked up. It's like the message
Right,
there, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
then like the
Stress and horror made him lose his hair,
It's just a very funny thing. And then like then the mom character who's only in the movie for like 10 minutes walks out, and to be sympathetic to him, she says, "You used to be handsome." And walks away.
Yeah.
you know,
Killer.
you
I
can take
hated that
comfort in that.
stuff.
Killer line.
I don't know. It's like the start of your movie. It's like the first 20 minutes of this movie, and he starts talking about little shiny naked boys, and I'm just like, what is this? I don't want to hear about wet boys. I don't like it. Feels like this movie's for old perverts. Well, I'm just a guy who likes movies. What do I know?
I'm letting that hang in the air for so long. I was gonna let it be
Well,
silent for so long after that.
It
bit.
just occurred to me that for the first time that maybe the Abe is a simulacrum of some kind, a bizarro funhouse mirror of our version of
I gotta
Abe.
say, the real Abe.
I think you're
loves wet
remembering that
boys.
wrong.
The real Abe loves wet boys, so
Also
I
kinda
have my
reminds-
eyebrows raised.
Recently covered on One Upsmanship. Did this remind you of mouthwashing at all in terms of just the vibes?
A little bit. Well, mouthwashing
like
is
that.
clearly much
Oh, yeah.
crueler than this.
Oh yeah, and
This
more
is
modern.
very-
That's what I mean when I say proto.
Yeah.
But I do think I was thrilled by. I'm like, oh, this guy probably somewhat inspired Kubrick and Annihilation guy and people. Like,
Yeah,
it
he was
felt
an
like
influencer.
it felt like a base note of sci-fi that I had yet to encounter, which I was like, oh, this does seem formative. I see so many things in this, and like I said, the actual twist at the end fulfills my definition of a really good, tight Twilight Zone. Oh, and the twist is he is on the planet, and it's like, cool, great, I get it.
Yeah, it has a lot
We
of
get
the
trapped in our own
structure.
trauma. We get trapped in our own grief. Love it.
It has the structure of those sort of like gotcha sci-fi films of that era, of like the Twilight
Yeah.
Zone era. So
Yeah.
it does feel
Which 2001 famously eschewed, and
Yeah.
it's just like, the answer is nothing, man. It's like, you think about it, man. You tell me, man. What did you think about, though? That's why in this movie, or story or whatever, I want to understand the ethics of, for example, the scene where he goes, "You're a loafer." He goes, "Shh, she's sleeping." And he goes, oh, she knows how to sleep already? That's unsettling. And he goes, what do you mean unsettling? And he goes, don't you get it, man? She's not like a human being. She's like some kind of weird simulacrum pretending to act it out. And she overhears him saying that.
Yep.
And that version of Hari then freaks out, demands to know what she is. And he's like pissed at the guy for telling her that she's not real.
Yeah.
Because then she kills herself. So to me, that was one of the most fascinating offers. And I don't know if that's true in the Soderbergh, but like, what do you think it means about Grief for Life or anything that the guests don't want to know that they're fake? Or they
good question.
implode? Yeah.
I love that. Well, she also eventually makes the argument she's just as human as them.
And that's what I mean is it evolves into, no, I am real. Fuck you guys. I'm just as real as you.
Right. And I actually think that's probably what we are supposed to take from the movie. But I also believe that if you knew your existence was fundamentally a funhouse mirror of somebody else's memory, I think it would be hard to feel like you had your own identity, right? Because that's what's happening here is she's not really everything that Hari was. She's everything that Kelvin remembers about Hari, including her
Nor
suicide.
does she seem to have like full agency. She has like partial hypnotic agency.
Right. She needs him to be around to feel like she's fully a person. Like that's an issue.
But that's a great creepy sci-fi offer. It is. That's changing though.
Right.
They hint that she at one point says like, I've been experimenting and I can go all the way down the hall and it doesn't hurt anymore. That's cool. That's a cool mystery offer to me. Like, oh, what would they become if Hari did fully detach from him and could exist, but was still made from memories? You know, it brings up all the shit that I like from some Star Treks, which are like, is a hologram real? Well, is ChatGPT real? No.
I think this movie, if you made it today, like if you're going to make Solaris today, you definitely make it from the point of view of one of the Haris. Like it's like,
the reveal would be you, the protagonist, are fake. Yeah, that's usually the stronger choice
currently. Yeah, because that's
the old clone bone.
And it would have to comment on AI, right? Like it would literally have to be about an LLM.
I think or an analog to it. I mean, yeah I think that's right.
Metaphor for that.
What were you going to say, Real Abe?
Yeah, please.
Real Abe, what were you going to say?
You guys are talking about that scene where Hari's like, I love Kelvin, and I love him because of his capacity to love makes him the most human. And I agree. That's what makes us human is the ability to feel so many complex emotions. So if like neutrinos can feel that, I guess we need to redefine what's human, or rather, if we're comfortable with entities outside of what we define as human are capable of said emotional resolution, maybe we should fight for their essence just as much as living, breathing humans. Maybe we should expand our understanding of emotional intelligence beyond or below what we considered a priori and exclusive. Also, holes and poles, baby. That's what makes a human.
Holes.
I love everything you said. I agree with every single thing you said. I
agree with it, except in the reverse side of the coin, poles and holes. No, I mean actually the reverse side of your real argument, which is that, and I don't know why I guess, I don't know. I don't mean this in a depressing or cynical way, but by what I sort of gathered from that is you're like, well, if our emotions are real and valid and life is worth fighting for, then isn't, this thing's emotions, or can you broaden that? I'd go the opposite way and say, are our emotions such a big deal or so important? Or are they actually, who gives a shit that you're sad or traumatized? You're just an animal and you'll die. And that emotion is just a chemical cascade in your brain designed to make you turn certain ways or go towards and away from other things.
You, sir, are what I like to call a convenient fatalist.
Right. For the purposes of this discussion now.
He's a nerd.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying when I said like, I don't know if I actually mean that. I'm bringing up that argument.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Playing that chess piece. Like, I think Hari or the alien planet is saying like, they're like, well, your emotions aren't real. You're just a big alien planet. And it's like, then your emotions aren't real. Fuck you.
Right. How could you make any argument that anyone's emotions
are real
or more real than somebody else's?
And I know this is not the point of that, but I can't stop thinking about that vis-a-vis the Doctor from Voyager, which I do lay up at night thinking about. Like, are his feelings real?
Never seen Voyager, so I can't.
nor can we debate that now.
I'm
But
sorry. I would wish I could. I just like,
don't worry about it. It's just nerd stuff.
I would also
But
like
I
to
guess-
point out Abe
yeah.
looks like a pet detective today. Like he is slick and his hair looks great.
I was gonna say a Detective Pikachu.
Yeah.
So there's something going on.
Yeah, Abe's got a real vibe going on
investigatory.
today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a psychiatrist in space with a leather jacket.
It's
and a
because
mesh
I'm
tank top.
fresh. I'm new and fresh, baby.
You are
Gosh.
so fresh.
I do just love that in the 70s, your credible sci-fi movie could be. So we sent hundreds of scientists, statisticians, mathematicians, physicists. This alien intelligence has just killed or hypnotized or traumatized or befuddled everyone. We'll send this psychiatrist in a
Space
leather
therapist.
jacket to sort it out. It's just such a weird plan. The actual plan of the movie is bizarre.
It's another thing that I feel like Soderbergh wisely trimmed down in his version.
And made it more like hardcore.
It takes
science
10
movie.
minutes to get to Solaris
Oh, sure.
in
Yeah,
his
yeah.
movie. And the only thing they explain is, listen, we've tried everything we can. This guy knows you from Solaris. You got to go out there. Like, and that's all you need to know. It's like, okay.
Dude, it's also so easy to write. All you do is like, oh, that Burton astronaut came back, and guess what he said he saw? You. No one knows why.
Sure, that
So we
would've been
figured we'd
interesting.
get you there. Like, there's so many ways to just. Anyway, what do you guys think about one of the core resonant lines from Sartorius, the real scientist, who is
Need
the opposite?
mirrors?
He's the face of like, this is all bullshit. He locks himself in his lab and he's like, we should just irradiate it. Like, you guys need to stop falling into the emotion trap. He at one point says, and this sort of speaks to the fatalism point I was making, vis-a-vis like, why do we even have emotions? Man was created by nature to learn her ways and is condemned to knowledge by this search for truth. Which of course bears comparison to the, apple, the fruit of knowledge from the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
All that. The classic thing, ignorance is bliss, and therefore the opposite, right? To learn to live is life is suffering. I got that.
Life is
We're
suffering.
Back. Life is
Thank
suffering.
God.
But I guess what I'm saying is that I kind of do think that's one of the core truths of life, is that life is suffering, but in addition, in the same breath, you have to one day recognize suffering helps you learn, and learning is valuable. And yet the paradox is you only learn so you can get savvy, so you can avoid suffering, and then one day you die anyway. So like you're
That's
stuck
a whole
with
lot of philosophical
That's what
assertions.
I'm saying everyone is stuck with the challenge of deciding what makes their life meaningful.
Yeah.
But I really want to zero in on what do you think about this idea that, because I do believe in the base assertion he's making, which is like one of the reasons we exist is so that the universe can even have sensory perception or experience itself. Is knowledge suffering? Like, is everything we learn, does it diminish and confuse us until we die?
Do I
'Cause that-
agree with the
yeah.
Buddhist outlook on life, you mean?
I wouldn't call it Buddhist.
Really?
I
It
feel
sounds
like
like the way you
Buddhism is
described it.
all is an illusion, whereas
Mm-hmm.
I would define this as the Russian fatalist, which is man's destiny is to learn, and learning, everything you learn is suffering. Like, as you learn, you realize that life is suffering
Like,
and hell and a trudge.
if-
And when you're a child, you don't know that, and you slowly learn that.
In your construct
like,
of reality, in your
I
construct,
feel like Sartorius. No, I'm speaking for Sartorius. I feel like Sartorius is saying, and that's our duty, as like that's why the universe created us, to do its homework and die.
see, yeah, and that's such a strange set of beliefs that they seem
I
incoherent
think
to
it's
me.
neat. I think it
Like-
makes sense for a scientist to feel that way. I think.
Well, of course, because he's justifying his own existence and his own talents and specialties, and wrapping a universal credo around that. Like, my contention there would be it would always be a consolation prize if he believed that reality is suffering, and the suffering only exists to help you get wise enough to avoid suffering. Then knowledge is the ultimate consolation prize, because it doesn't mean anything, right? Now, we all want it to mean something intrinsically. I agree with that. But
or we
like,
come to believe it does mean something, but he doesn't. So let's examine
well,
that.
yeah, but then he doesn't get to say what it. And I know that he isn't, but I'm saying like his abstractions don't get to determine our duty. Then, if he has a limited metaphysic like that, where he's like, this is how reality works, then he doesn't get to tell me what duty is, because there is no duty if that's true.
See, and I think that also immediately bounces to one of the other lines I found the most interesting, which was the guy, when he gets there and he's like, brief me on what's going on. Sartorius, or one of the scientists, is like, it's worth discussing our duty. And what he's saying is, he's hinting at maybe we should kill the planet because they have the Annihilator.
That seems like what they wanted to do.
And he goes, to what? And he says, the truth. And then our guy says, you mean to people? Which I love that. He's saying, like, why do we be scientists? Yeah. It's to improve the lives of our own species, right? And he goes, no, the truth, but you won't find truth. Go away. You're too impressionable. And I just love that. Like, he's like, your emotion is going to fuck all this up. And I like the counter of the emotional guy, a psychiatrist, being like, but why do we do science? It's to make ourselves happy, right? Or don't lose sight of our goals. It's like to help people, right?
An even more bold claim than that truth and knowledge are meaningless without morality. Like, it's all in the service of morality, was a claim he
says when a man is happy, the meaning of life is not interesting. Save that question for the end of your life. We never know when our lives will end, so we're always in a hurry.
Right.
Yeah.
But you could have this whole conversation in the movie, and you could just like easily put like a Star Wars guy back there fighting another Star Wars guy. Oh, it'd be easy. Like AI,
a Bro Man Talks
AI exists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just pop them in there.
You could write these words on the Death Star trench, and we could just fly by them. You know, just fly right by them and get them all that way. Yeah, I think that a lot of times these like sort of philosophical questions that a movie will raise but then sort of drop are often kind of half-truths that feel cool or feel interesting but aren't really, or not. They are interesting, but they're not.
Yeah, I do think existence is too complex for almost any single artistic statement to sum it all up and be like spot on. So I think it's okay to be like, well, I'm just throwing out some facets that I'm aware of. It doesn't cohere into a unified field theory
completely
of philosophy, or it would be a philosophy book instead of a sci-fi movie.
Completely. You know? No, I'm not here to invalidate the Enterprise. I think the Enterprise is completely meaningful and interesting. I just don't agree with the scientists.
Some of the things the guy said. You're right. Like, this is what life is. You're like,
no, it isn't.
Really think it is. Well, then I want to ask, just like yours.
Yeah.
I really admire the way you think, and I value your opinions. Abe, shut up. Get out. I just want to run other really resonant lines by you and be like, do you think that about that? It's like the bullshit test.
Yeah.
To think about one's death is to know it. So just ignore those things and you'll feel immortal. And follow up, and this is for Abe, because I feel like this is more of an Abe question. That's coupled with a long zoom into his ear canal.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Mean?
Yeah, the ear canal.
To think about death is to know death, so just ignore it and you'll be immortal.
Right. I think that goes back to the idea of there's a duty to know the truth, but that duty comes at the expense of morality, which in this case also means happiness. Right. And so like this is the argument for there's a kind of bliss and a kind of omnipotence to not considering everything about reality. Right?
I was always, very interested by Herzog saying, it's because that's the first time it ever occurred to me was some Herzog interview where he's like, no, I don't want to know. You know, he compares it to buying an old house with lots of character and not dusting all the corners, not investigating the whole foundation. He goes like, I don't necessarily need to know why I feel everything I feel or like unpack my childhood to the point that I understand myself. It's cool that there's mystery. And I got to say, that never occurred to me. I always just defaulted into it would be good to fully understand everything in the universe if that were possible. Always seemed to be like the unspoken goal to me.
And that's what the earshot means?
It's interesting to sit with mystery. No, I'm saying I don't know why it's a shot of an ear. That's what I'm trying to ask. Yeah.
Oh, well, an ear's a hole, isn't it?
Oh, the camera's the pole. The pole's and the holes, the ripping and the tearing. Similar question for either of y'all. In that same scene, I think, he posits that life would be meaningless or somehow the universe hollow, whatever that means to you, if we ever did find the full truth of like what happens after death, what love really means and is, and what like true happiness and contentment is. Like if you ever achieved that, the universe would somehow unravel or not matter anymore. And I don't know about truth, but I find that an interesting thought.
That once you know it, it no longer serves a purpose.
Well, he says
or no longer exists.
To fall in love with someone, for example, like Harry,
Right.
is
Right.
essentially to ask to know that. Like, I want to know everything. Can I know you on a molecular level? And I resonate with that. Like wanting
Sure.
my partner to love me is a feeling of wanting to like, I wish I could
known.
be you. I wish I could
Yeah,
smash
yeah.
into you and we were the same. And then it's like, so that's an interesting impulse to balance against like, would you or wouldn't you be Dr. Manhattan bored on Mars if you knew everything that your partner was thinking and you knew what happened when you die and you knew, that old gag.
Is
Mystery
hard for
important
us-
or is mystery just like a trick that makes us feel like, oh, there was a mystery, like, or
Well, that sort of is also asking the question, like, is change more important than completion? Right? Is having a process, being in a process, having the experience of time more important than eternality? Is another way to say
or
this
like
question.
knowledge
right?
is power and that's concrete and we bank that and that stays
Right.
and we accrue it is a different way
Right.
of looking at it.
I think it's very difficult for us to conceive of a world where we are not in progress to something that's yet out on the horizon, right? Like that's a fundamental thing
the
for
city
our
on the hill.
human experience. Yeah. And although we want to get to the city on the hill, we're also terrified of what does it mean when I get there? Because that means I'll no longer be traveling anywhere. Is there even a world if I'm not traveling?
And then I think as an exploration of that, a lot of artists and philosophers end up muttering, there is no destiny.
There's
That's
no
the
city.
secret. And then you
Right.
go, well, and again, this is all I'm really looking for out of life and art. That's interesting
Yeah.
to think about. My whole life is driving towards a thing that doesn't exist. I just,
There's
that's
that
cool.
scene where Kelvin and his dead wife are floating. I didn't like it. I was like, "What is this?"
When she's
am I looking at
dead,
it?
wrapped
I
in
kinda love that.
plastic.
And they're floating in zero gravity, right?
Yeah,
and
zero G.
And I'm like, what is this? A reminder that your environment can change and be strange, but it doesn't change who you are. Like your principles are sometimes defined by spatial parameters, but ultimately what you want is what you want. That designs our fate. I hate that.
Is the bit that he makes good points? I don't understand this.
Yeah,
one.
once in a while, this very real Abe will like he'll settle into poles and holes. We're like, sure, I get what you are, man. High
He's
five.
doing the poles and holes bit, and then
but it's an
then he'll
elaborate fucking
contribute. That's weird.
Rube Goldberg machine that
contribute.
gets to it.
Yeah.
you
This
know?
movie made me want to drink liquid oxygen. You know what I'm saying?
Because you're in despair.
I do.
I love.
What do you think it tastes
By the
like?
way, the exchange when she's dead. Why did she do it? I think she sensed that I didn't really love her, but now I do. Fucking ouch. That's an unfortunate sequence of events.
I also kind of don't know what he means by that. You know what I mean?
That's
Like,
that's what I'm saying is sometimes I feel like the psychiatrist is just being poetic and not philosophical. Where I'm
Yeah.
like, you don't even know what you mean by that, dude.
It feels like it means
You're
something,
just
so it
Kerouacking
does.
But
Exactly.
I kinda get
But I hate stuff that's only that. And I gotta say, I do think, and we've named some of them, Tarkovsky's definitely interested in stuff that's actually interesting to me. Like there are resonant lines that are truly, you can turn that over for a while.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
some of it is faffery. I do love also just speaking of imagery, and the opening image. It's not that complex once you explain it, but I was like so chilled and thrilled by the Kubrickian nature of, because I had already known, just because it's a famous film, I knew the story going in, and I'm like, oh, I get it. The first shot is a leaf floating down the clear surface of a watery thing, and underneath there's like these mysterious looking undulating gross tentacly seaweeds. And
Yep.
it's like, oh, that's great, because the movie's about a spaceship orbiting a water planet, the base of which is these creepy tentacles that reach into your mind. Great. So I'm just saying, if you like shit like that, it definitely stood up as like having thoughtful imagery and thoughtful lines.
It is well made and well framed.
Terrible
and would
effects.
stand up in everything but effects today.
Yeah, no budget to speak of.
Yeah.
You can't sit. Let me see what you got. Stop showing me fog. Stop hiding behind
Show me
fog,
what you
motherfucker.
got.
Dude,
I paid for this.
I did have to go to Wikipedia and be like, what is the end scene? And they're like, that clip art thing, that's an island on the surface
Yeah,
of
that's
the
an
planet.
island.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, gotcha.
Remember how they said that the planet's doing islands?
Yeah.
That's
Right.
that's what we got.
What is this movie made in 1972?
Well, and then you pair that with his mom washing the scabs off his arm in his last dream, right? So it's like the planet is healing him, but is it real? And that's what we're left to contemplate.
Yeah, it was very strange. It was a very strange decision for him to go back to his parents and not to Hari.
Hari.
I didn't understand that.
I was
like what that
confused
meant.
by that for sure.
Yeah, but because like his parents exist. I mean, not in their ideal state like this.
See, that's what makes it perfectly, beautifully sci-fi ironic, is that, at the end, all he really wanted was to get back where he was at the beginning. But you're saying in the actual chessboard of this movie, why would that be what he wants? He should obviously want to be with Hari. That's what he's wanted the whole
tension.
time. Yeah.
Well, and
agreed.
interesting. This version
It's
of
a
her
stretch.
also makes more choices. Like she makes more self-determination choices, which makes her interesting. Soderbergh kind of took some of that out, which there's reasons for that.
I like that she's kind of pretty clearly, she's more alien than she is Hari. Like she very quickly
Definitely.
says stuff from the planet's point of view,
Definitely,
which is cool.
I feel like one of my other favorite movies was also heavily inspired by this. The movie Her. You know what I mean? Like
Her?
the evolution of Her, the evolution of the OS character, and like sort of coming to grips with not being human. Like at first,
sometimes I
trying
forget
to be
that's the name of
human.
that. The Joaquin Phoenix, she transcends.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then her sort of embracing her non-humanity. Lucy.
That's the one
Lucy
I
is her
like.
name.
Yeah.
Yeah, well done, Abe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hot in that. She's pretty. Lucy.
So
Mike's sipping out of a square mug. and
She's
he's
smart
so
too.
satisfied.
She's smart.
She's smart.
Lucy.
there's that line in the movie where this fucking terrible name Snout is like,
Yeah, Snout. Great.
we
name.
don't need other worlds. We need mirrors. And I didn't respond to that because I got mirrors. I got like 10, maybe 12.
Was that a brag? Is he bragging?
Yeah, he's bragging about his mirrors. He's very proud.
How many mirrors you got?
Less than that. So I'm
Actually,
less than
well,
you.
I can't confirm it without like breaking them down and sort of investigating, but I have at least 2 facing each other and potentially as many as Infinite, because I'm looking at them and I see mirrors on mirrors on mirrors.
Yeah, you got that, Abe. You got infinite mirrors.
No, that makes sense because perception is sometimes reality.
And
It's
just
self-defined.
as we learned in,
Mhm.
right, if I imagine a billion mirrors, then I'm better
Then they
than Abe.
are. Yeah. That is the lesson.
I didn't see the horse at the end.
There was a
You guys
horse?
remember the horse?
Oh yeah, I missed the
No.
horse.
The horse appeared. I thought that was going to be
Yeah.
a whole character.
I did too. I thought the horse was
don't
going to mean
remember the
something,
horse.
and he did not.
I
And-
did like this. What was it's not Sancho Panza's the quote, but what's Don Quixote?
Mm-hmm.
They also talk about how sleep is good because it cuts you fully off from emotion.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's death.
yeah. I feel like I do experience very strong emotions when I sleep. Are you dead affect in your dreams?
I almost never remember dreams except for
Hmm.
very recently in therapy. My therapist has been asking me to remember dreams, and for whatever reason, that request has made me start remembering them.
Yeah.
And I'm having very simple dreams. I'm not having Tony Soprano dreams.
A sphere
having
rolls down a ramp.
extremely simple. Yeah,
You wake
exactly.
up. Fuck was that?
I'm like, what the fuck? Am I the sphere?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Just a 6 hour.
And I tell the therapist like, whoa.
Oh shit, dude. I
Let's
have to
come back,
5150 you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
The only
section
dream
you.
I have is that this movie had like just one predator or one ninja.
Like one Isla Fisher,
Yeah.
some eye candy.
Just one predator.
But dancing around that line you were calling out, the "We Want a Mirror," I gotta say I also loved the lines, and just the idea that it's crazy that the most rarefied, like, will sacrifice so much to go out into space, the absence of anything, when what we really want is just another human with their like whole body wrapped around us holding us, telling us we are loved and we're okay. Like, so then how do you reconcile that with the urge to go be in space? And I'm like, obviously, we can want more than one thing at once. And space exploration is not only symbolic of loneliness, but it's a cool idea to view
And I
it
also
that way.
don't know that
He
all
says
of our
we
desires...
don't discover the cosmos. We extend ourselves to its limits. I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah, this movie sort of has a belief that all of our desires and endeavors are subsets of the one main
Wanting
desire.
to be loved.
Yeah, like in this very orderly way. And I don't know how I feel about that idea. That like, hey, everything's sort of derived from this one core main thing, and they all really bend back to that thing if you look at them close enough. Like, does that feel true to you? I don't know if that feels true to me.
I'll tell you what, though, I think it's a similar impulse, but Harlan Ellison has a line that I always felt was so fatalistic and cruel and cold that I don't want to believe it. But as I've aged, I think about it, and I think it is true, and I don't think he meant it as harshly as I originally took it, which is, the way Harlan Ellison phrased this thought is, every living thing automatically strives to control the life of every other living thing that it comes into contact with. But if you extend that to like, but they can want good outcomes for things around them.
Sure.
But whether you're trying to get something to happen or influence something, like all you are ever doing is striving to like wrestle reality to do what you want right now, always. I think that is true. And whether it's, so I think I agree more with that. It's not to be loved, it's to get the thing. But people have different the thing. Whereas this movie makes it seem like everyone's goal is to get Hari to fall in love with you and have a family. Whereas I'm like, I do think it's true that we all are just impulses nested within impulses, nested with impulses. But I think we have different goals. Not everyone's goal is to get your dead wife back or whatever.
That's not my goal. Let
life
her
is
stay.
suffering.
But do you think, I mean, Adam or Abe answer same question. Do you think we are all, I think this is not a surf line. Are we all just needs hidden behind other needs or impulses hidden behind other impulses?
I just don't think that would satisfactorily explain existence. That's it. It's so interesting to watch.
But would it explain human behavior?
No.
Okay.
I don't think it would. I think it would explain a lot of it, but it wouldn't explain all of it. Like at least not to me. I sometimes I think that, and we're all doing this. Sometimes I think people start with a fundamental outcome. Like I'll use the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once because I just talked about that with Maggie on a different podcast that may or may not be coming out soon. And sort of like if you start with the bagel has everything on it and it's nothing, it's like it's a null void, then you have to sort of like bend a lot of things to make it all fit onto the everything bagel that may or may not actually be everything on that bagel. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
but I can't accept it as just a representation of, it's the thing. It's whatever you want in your life that would make you complete. It's different for everyone, but that's what the bagel is in this story. I can accept that.
You can, yeah. So like the religious word for that is idols, right? Like it's the idol. Right,
or like nearness to God, or like is I mean, that's what
so
I would
idols.
want.
This is a concept that, like, a lot of people think of idols as like this is a tiny little god that people used to worship, but really, what it is an object that that replaces God as the chief object of desire and worship in your life. Right, so like
I see. You're
that's
saying
why
the
it was
bagel,
a problem.
Well, from the religious vantage, at least, or the bagel should be closeness to God, but it isn't always for everyone. Obviously,
That's the problem. Right. Yeah. That's why it's a problem. That's why some people die of bagel. You know what I mean?
You know what a bagel's got?
A pole.
I'm ready, Abe.
No, wait.
And a hole. It's got a hole. Damn it!
I was thinking hot dog.
Which makes sense for this film. Like there's that one scene where
Which makes sense. For this
again,
film.
stupid name Snout is like, oh, that's crazy. Your wife came back? That's crazy. And you launched her into space?
It's my birthday today.
The rest of
It's
us,
my birthday. Yeah.
the rest of us, when confronted with this problem, like threw some stuff or said some swears. You launched your wife into space. I wonder about that. Maybe she's supposed. Like, he wants her to die?
She sure dies a lot. Like, he lets her die a lot, and he doesn't try to stop her.
He acts really strange up top, and it seems like he's kind of testing Kelvin to see, like, is the planet going to fuck with you? Because once that happens, he's like, yeah, bro, we're cool now.
And I think that is intentional. Well, because he
me
says
too.
she drank liquid oxygen in despair. And the guy goes, well,
He's
it's
like,
you.
yeah.
The longer she's with you, the more human she becomes. And she freaks out because she's like a ghost, or like her existence doesn't make sense. And he goes, it doesn't matter. She'll come back. So it's like, again, just hammering home. It's not even the real Hari, nor does he even seem to care if it is. He's like,
fine with
this
that.
is a very good wife hologram. I enjoy it.
Yeah, I like wife.
Yeah.
Therefore, I like this.
Hari becoming more Hari, and therefore is going to die.
Oh, because Hari did
she
die.
becomes mortal.
Oh, and he can never.
No. Hari, the essence of Hari in his memory.
Right.
That's the
because
Soderbergh
it's
version
copy
of it.
and pasted from a version of her that was suicidal. That will always happen. Is that what you're saying?
That's more clearly stated in the Soderbergh version.
I don't know. This sounds like nerd stuff.
Yeah. I do. Also, when Snout gets drunk and he goes, "Should we whip it? Should we pray to it?" Good line.
Hell yeah. Whipping.
Good generic
Now we're talking.
philosophy line.
I mean, the main
More
guy
whips.
has like a fuck shirt. Anyone else notice that fuck shirt?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we talked about it. The mesh nips.
Oh yeah,
That's good for
yeah.
therapy sessions in the future.
Yeah, you need that. Yeah,
Mm.
that helps you break through. You know, break through your emotional.
This movie
mesh.
could have been way better.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I guess,
It
did
could've
you
been better.
gather that the Annihilator kills her forever? Is that why he can only, his consolation prize is his home with his parents? Because she leaves him a suicide note saying, don't be mad at them. I begged them to use the Annihilator on me, which I interpret as like adult dip from Roger Rabbit. So
Yeah.
like I
Can't create
imagine it
another
made
one.
her, but I think, doesn't that imply that's that? Like that eliminates her memory engram or something?
I don't think so. I mean, it wasn't clear to me.
Okay.
All I got from that is I chose to die again. So maybe that's why he doesn't remember or go
But
back
it's
to her.
the
'cause
first and
she's
only
gonna keep
time
doing
she
it.
died of Annihilator. I think the Annihilator is set up as a special final solution. But
Does
yeah,
that
Hope
mean-
they didn't call it that.
they don't. There's no confirmation is the point. The
Yeah.
story doesn't go into it.
No.
Does
which
that
is
mean
vague.
that she's dead in his memories?
Right? Did they Eternal Sunshine him?
They just say the neutrinos are dispersed, but that's weird. Because then why can't you just make more neutrinos or use different
and,
neutrinos?
I mean, now we're back at a crux issue with time travel where we're like, so try again. There's no stakes. Okay. Oh, you failed? Go try again.
Right.
Try
Well,
again.
he also didn't assemble her in the first place. So,
Yeah.
you can
She just
disassemble the
bubbled up.
neutrinos all you want.
Oh, right. You're right. They scan them with tricorders and they're like, the unique thing about these guests is they're just sort of like these blank things made up of solid neutrino. And it's like, well, that shouldn't be annihilatable. We can get more neutrinos.
Right.
We could build more Haris. Why can't we? Yeah. I
Like,
don't know.
honestly, I'm not sure you want to know what that ocean can do if pressed. I don't think you want to know the limits of what that ocean can do.
Well, I guess so. I wonder. And I think he's so maybe.
It's making islands.
Maybe that zoom into his ear. Because what happens is
Mhm.
he has a dream where his mom washes scabs off his arm. Then the planet starts to scab up, so to speak. And scabs, of course, are a symbol of a wound finally healing, right? And he goes, to think about death is to be dead, so just ignore those things and you'll feel immortal. As it zooms into his ear, another way to think about this is his mind. So what if that's the point of view of the planet, examining his mind and realizing, I wanted to make him happy, but giving him Hari will never make him happy because it's intrinsically linked with her death. So I'll just give him his little island with his home and parents, and we'll never think of Hari again. That's actually his happy ending. Because he does say this a couple times, like, when you don't think about stuff, that's when you're happy. When you just don't give a shit, that's when you feel immortal. When you just live in the present and don't give a shit. I don't know. I'm just wondering if, like, that's his fatalism being like,
It could be.
here's how we resolve this. There is no Hari. Fuck
My
it.
thing would be he sure does love his parents a lot then. You know what I mean?
I mean,
Like,
sure
he
wants
sure
to hang
is
out
happy
with his
those
dad.
parents.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for long.
Loves it.
I would not want to spend the rest of my life on an island with my dad, and I love
me
him.
neither. And I love my dad.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
No,
I wouldn't be
don't
like,
want that.
oh, this is happiness.
Thank God that I have this house and this island and you, Dad. Doesn't sound good to me.
I
I
would-
don't know.
I'd be like, hey, you think you can swim across this ocean planet? I'm going to try. All right.
You think it'll think me dead? I hope it does.
Ooh, that's a good name for a movie too. Think Me Dead.
Think me dead.
Think Me Dead.
Well, I love this Solaris premise, as Mike knows, because I've been tooling with many different screenplays.
Well, there's so
the
much
idea of manifestations. You know?
I don't think we'll ever completely use up what is it to dream, what matters, what is happiness, what is love. We can do that forever. And I think we shall. And that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So Abe, is anything you want to slip in before we banish you and leave
after
you
I
behind?
watched Whoa. After I watched this movie, I found there's another movie called Solar Tits.
Solar Tits.
Did you like it?
Solar Tits. It's a better movie.
Do they absorb the power of the sun? Are they solar tits?
Yeah, it's a Tarkovsky-esque porn film.
Uh-huh.
Tarkovsky-esque.
Mm-hmm.
But not, it wasn't made by Tarkovsky though.
No, just esque.
He was just a consultant.
He was not a consultant.
They did
I promise you that.
The guy who did make it
promise
sent it to Tarkovsky, and Tarkovsky did say, pretty hot.
Yeah.
You may release.
No, he was like, I jacked off immediately.
I jacked off. Happiness is to jack off to this. Holes and holes. Speaking of holes,
I thought of nothing afterward. Nothing.
Yeah, that is happiness. The empty mind of the just having come guy. Or gal. Let's pass our final checkpoint. Editor Abe, please put in the one-upsmanship sound effect. And decide what to do about this wormhole. Should we pull it? Should we open it, close it, sew it shut? This is where we decide, would you live? I mean, the way I'm going to interpret this, which is always slightly different, is because I think it's the most fun this time. Would I live on a fantasy island made out of my memories?
Well, they also never take the test case of person who lost
has a happy life?
Sibling or friend to a car accident or something they had no control over.
Ooh, what about person who hasn't had anyone close to them die? What would happen if they came to Solaris?
What's their deal?
Yeah.
So, those people might want to keep this world open.
I'm going to stick, mainly I usually am adventuresome and go to the other universe, but this time I'm going
to do that. Yeah.
I'm going to stick in our terrestrial normal universe because I got to see the Soderbergh version. It sounds hot and I have not seen it. So I got to at least stick around till I jerk off to George Clooney and the Soderbergh film version of this. Yeah. I
think we're conflating the versions, or not, or we aren't. Maybe
it's Danny Boyle directing George Clooney in the music video for The Beach.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go into the wormhole.
Woo!
Yeah.
Knew you
and
would.
then out. And then in.
Oh, God.
So
He's
cool.
fucking the portal. Now,
what a cool answer.
One of us was going to do that bit, and now it's dead. We can't do it. He took the I'm going to fuck the portal bit.
Thank God.
You guys are a bunch of nerds.
No, thank you for diving on that grenade, Abe, frankly, because I did not want to resort to the I'm going to fuck the portal bit. Just feels like you're out of ideas,
Yeah.
So
we're really all suffering. Life is suffering.
Life is suffering.
I'd rather suffer without that planet. Closing wormhole now.
Would you annihilate the planet, though? How about that question?
No, it's clearly alive.
No, that's what I mean. Isn't it
It's
fucked up
alive.
that they annihilate it at the end? You're like, it's a planet-sized animal. Pretty brutal to just shoot it in the head.
There should be a shot of another planet that's like sobbing.
It was Solaris's lover planet. It's like, we're a whole race of planet beings, you guys. That was our mayor. That was our Abraham Lincoln's planet. You fuck. Now
He was the best
Now
of
there's
us.
slavery still in our
Now
society.
we're at war forever.
Now we're going back
We're
to
at war.
slaves because of you.
Life is suffering. Anyone else? I'm done.
Please let's not end on the last line of this podcast. Let's go back to slaves.